Welcome to the realm of heroes and monsters, Storytime, with your host, AP Fuchs. Stories of intrigue, stories of horror, stories of superheroics, stories of monsters. Get ready, the thrill ride begins. Hey everybody, welcome back. It's episode 12 of the realm of heroes and monsters Storytime with your host, me, AP Fuchs. So before we start the show, I just want to simply say welcome to all the new listeners and watchers here on YouTube and elsewhere. I appreciate you joining in. I just want to say a special welcome to you. And I just want to quickly bring you up to speed as to what we're doing if you're just joining us. We're, for Storytime part, we're reading from my book Flash Attack, which is a collection of flash fiction. Flash fiction, if you don't know, are short stories. More specifically, they're short stories. So they're quite short. That's why these early episodes are shorter in length, because the stories themselves are shorter. And then as we get into season 2, we'll be doing longer stories. But for season 1, we're reading from Flash Attack. And I'm going to read the synopsis. I'm sorry for those who have already heard it, but again, this is for those just joining us. So this is from the back of the book. Flash fiction. Short stories with a beginning, middle, and an end. Contained herein are a plethora of thrilling stories of adventure and intrigue, horror and danger, excitement and suspense. Ranging from tales of superheroics to those of thrills and chills, Flash Attack is one heck of an exciting ride with surprises at every turn. Written by cult writer AP Fuchs, these stories are guaranteed to take your reading experience to the next level and beyond. Prepare to be attacked. Flash Attacked. So here we are, Flash Attack. And so today the show is divided, again, for those just joining us, the show in the beginning, we talk a bit of pulp culture stuff, we talk a bit of creative stuff, we get into story time, and then if you stick around till after the credits, there's a little bonus scene. So here we are. So today I wanted to talk about the word almost. And that's fitting for what we're going to talk about in terms of horror movies. And I'm going to talk briefly about the Final Destination movies. Now, I know some of you listening are probably going to groan and go, oh, those aren't real horror movies. But some of you who are listening might have enjoyed them. And me personally, I enjoyed them. They got, progressively a little bit more extreme and progressively a bit more predictable. But what they did really well was the almost, right? Because the whole premise is someone ended up avoiding death. Therefore, to maintain balance, death is coming for various people in various ways. And there was a lot of scenes where the main characters were in these almost deadly situations. They get their hand stuck in something and something else was going wrong at the same time. And if they didn't get their hand unstuck, their head would get chopped off, like that kind of stuff, right? So there's all these suspenseful scenes where they're scrambling, trying to free themselves from a situation they got themselves into. And at the same time, death is coming for them, and death is going to cause a quote-unquote accident, to make it look like an accident, like a pane of glass falling on you and cutting you to bits kind of idea. And that's what that show did really well, or the movie rather, was it did the almost. There's a lot of scenes where people almost died. And then eventually, of course, a lot of people do die. But leading up to that point, all these almost scenes were intensely suspenseful and very well done, because you're panicking with the character, like, get out of there, free yourself. I know it hurts, it sucks, but you gotta do it, otherwise you're a dead man, kind of idea. And that's key in storytelling, is the almost. And so the Final Destination movies, did a good job in that respect. They really did a good job with the almost. And of course, they did a good job regarding the the horror and the gore and the and the haunting of death coming after you, and the characters panicking, and one person of course takes charge and tries to combat the issue, but it's that's a horror trope anyway. There's always that one person who's like, I could beat the evil, yeah, for sure, and then it gets them in trouble. But yeah, I mean, yeah, those flicks are good in that respect, and so I'm hoping, like they did with the latest, I think it came out last year, the latest Scream movie, which was kind of, well, they kind of made fun of themselves in the movie. They called it a requel meaning like a reboot slash sequel, and I hope Final Destination does something similar. They have like a requel in it, and that'd be I think a good movie, especially when they bring sort of the storytelling and the effects and whatnot up to modern day expectations, you know. Which I mean, even expectations. I mean, that word bothers me when it comes to consuming entertainment. I mean, we always go into entertainment with expectations, whether it's a superhero movie or a horror movie or a drama or whatever. It, a book. It could be anything, and we have these expectations, and I think that's a flaw that we need to address in ourselves. Just to go into stuff without expectations. I mean, we could look forward to things and hope for certain things in a piece of entertainment, but I think having these expectations and then suddenly they're not met for whatever reason, and then people start whining and complaining about it. It's your expectations. Like, come on, like, so your expectations weren't met. It doesn't mean it sucks. It just simply means your expectations weren't met. That's all it is. My expectations and your expectations are totally different things. So anyway, that's my little life note for this episode. But yeah, again, the Final Destination, I'm telling you, man, like the almost, that is really good. And that leads us into the creativity part of the podcast, where almost is a good part of storytelling. Whether it's a book or you're doing a comic or whatever, you need to have this almost going on. And in my fiction, at least, I've learned to bring in the almost. I mean, if you read one of my books, you know that every scene and the ending of every scene, that is, and the ending of every chapter ends with a cliffhanger slash almost. And what's good about the almost is it keeps the reader or the watcher, in case you're watching a movie, it keeps them engaged completely, because you got to find out what happens next. Oh no, they almost died. Oh no, they almost got punched in the face. Oh no, they almost got a terminal illness, etc., etc., etc. And bringing in the almost is a key component of good storytelling, of riveting storytelling, riveting being the key word there. And so that's something I try to bring to my fiction. You can't always do it, because if you're a writer listening to this, you understand that the story tells itself often, and there's not always a place to consciously insert these almosts into it, and that's okay, but if you're able to, then I would suggest, yeah, get your almost in there. And you guys are probably sick of me saying the word almost over and over and over again, so I'll stop saying almost. Almost. Oh, okay. Anyway, enough joking around. Let's get into story time. It's time. All right. So close your eyes, listen, let your imagination do its thing, and enjoy the tale. Here we go. Episode 12. Old Man Henry. Look at him, old and useless, Ray thought as he watched Old Man Henry sift through the toolbox. The old geezer must have sorted through his tape measures 10 times today. Ray and Dan were helping the old guy frame a house. It was slow going. Only 4 sections of wall had been put up, and they should have been up to at least 7. Another lay on the floor, ready to go. Just had to lift it into position before locking it down. These things are a bastard to lift, Dan said. No kidding, Ray replied. He and Dan were both 22, gym rats with V torsos, tight pecs, and well-muscled arms to show for it. Yet these walls were killing them. Ray didn't understand it. He could bench 2.25, deadlift 300, and shoulder press 175. But even then, he still saw stars on one of the lifts as they hoisted the thing up. He didn't tell Dan, though. Dan would never let him live it down. He caught old man Henry eyeing him. What does he want? All he does is sort tools and hand us what we need when we need it. Henry had been at the framing game for most of his life. The old guy was in his 70s now and probably would never retire. He did look pretty solid, though. You boys better get that wall up before quitting time, Henry said. His voice was soft, tired, yet had a subtle edge. Whatever you say, old man, Ray muttered. Let's see you lift this. He sighed. The sun was brutal, and the heat was getting to him. Just one more lift, some nails, a couple braces, and they'd be done for the day. Better get this done, Dan said. I'm sick of these 10-hour days. He shook his head. This job sucks. Yup, Ray said. They each got into position on either end of what would be the top of the wall when it stood upright. Ray got his fingers under the top plate. Be careful, boys, Henry said. Yeah, Ray said. He gripped the top plate and squatted down, getting ready. On 3. Dan got into position and nodded. 1, 2, 3. The boys lifted and took the wall to waist height. Ray had to adjust his grip so he can get his hands under it to press it up and start walking it forward. The moment Ray adjusted his hands, the true weight of the wall sank in and he grunted as he started pressing against it. Green stars burst before his eyes and blackness rimmed his vision while his muscles screamed. He started to push the wall up and... A loud voice filled his ears, but he couldn't make out the words. Something hard was beneath him. Strips of beige ran across his vision. He knew what those strips were, but couldn't think of their name. The voice took on coherency. Ray, get out! What? Who? Ray's head spun, and this guy who he knew but didn't know told him, You're under it. I can't hold it. The beige strips suddenly grew bigger as they came crashing toward him. The quick thought of all going black filled Ray's mind before the beige strips suddenly stopped. Pull him out, he heard a gruff voice say. Something gripped his legs, and as he was pulled along the floorboards, he realized it was Dan who yanked on his ankles. Ray rolled over onto his stomach, then watched as old man Henry held the wall by himself with little effort. He gently set the wall down. It barely made a sound as it touched the floorboards. It was like laying a quilt on a mattress. Dude, what happened? Dan said. He blacked out, Henry said, turning around. It's this damn heat. To Ray, You all right, son? Ray couldn't form the words. Henry gave him a hard pat on the chest, nearly winding him. The power. You'll be all right, Henry said, and with that, he was back at the toolbox, sorting tape measures for the 10th time that day. Welcome to my gym. Welcome to the end of the show and the after credits part. Here's a little thing. So I'm a vapor. I quit smoking in 2016 and switched to vaping, which, comparatively speaking, is a healthier option. And I've noticed a lot of difference. I mean, like within a week of quitting smoking, I noticed even when I was switching to vaping that my breathing just became like infinitely better. Like I could walk and not be winded. I could run or jog and not be winded. So there's benefits there. But what's interesting is when you smoke a cigarette, it combusts. And when it combusts, it releases approximately 4,000 toxins, that's including the nicotine, into your body. And it's all those toxins, the remaining 3,999 of them, that cause smoking-related illness. Whereas in vaping, again, it's not a healthy thing for your body, but it's healthier by a lot. There's no combustion. Basically, inside the unit, there's a coil, and the coil heats the e-juice, which in turn turns to steam, which is what you inhale and get your nicotine fix from. And so there's no combustion, which is responsible for a release of a lot of those chemicals from tobacco. But again, when it comes to the e-liquid, there's no combustion. It's basically like boiling a pot of water, and the steam comes out, and that's what you get. And in terms of chemical-wise, you're getting dramatically less chemicals going into your body, because like if you look at the bottle of e-juice liquid, it has like 3 or 4 ingredients, and that's it. And like one is nicotine, one is the delivery juice itself, and then a couple other items, and that's it. So when that heats up and you're getting that stuff in your system, comparatively speaking, yeah, it's a healthier alternative. I like doing it. I'm sadly addicted to nicotine. Yes, I admit that. It's a wrestle for me. I've been trying to fight it for years, but I just right now I need that in my life, just stress coping and that sort of stuff. So anyway, yeah, thought I'd let you know that yeah, cigarettes, 4,000 chemicals, 4,000. Try counting that high. That's actually a lot of numbers. So yeah, if you're a smoker, maybe consider vaping as an alternative. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but within a couple days you get it, and that's that. And then lastly, in regards to smoking, if you're going to quit, great. And just note that, statistically speaking, the first 3 days are going to be very, very hard. And that's because you got the nicotine in your system and your body's wanting more nicotine. And after the 3 days have elapsed, your body has basically gotten rid of the nicotine, and it technically no longer craves it. It feels like a craving, but in terms of a chemical need, from what the reading I've done, it's the chemical need for it for your body is not there. It's basically the rest is just in your head, and it's dealing with the psychological addictive behaviors that go along with smoking and stuff like that. So yeah, if you're looking to quit, try to quit altogether, completely. But if you can't, then again, vaping is a good alternative for that. So leaving you on that note, little health note, I'll be quiet and invite you to join us next week for our new episode. And of course, like, comment, subscribe, share, do everything you can to help the show out. I'm looking for it to grow, and I appreciate your assistance in that regard. So thank you for tuning in, and enjoy.